With me on my left is my co-host Xavier. How are we going, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, not too bad. And on my right, first time debutant guest, Graham, the kilted Scotsman, I believe it is.
Yeah, kilted Texan.
Kilted Texan, there you go. I'll get it right eventually. Graham, seeing as we've not been on before, do you just want to introduce yourself to the loyal Colt fans that watch this and anyone else who might be struggling in?
Yeah. Hello, everyone in the Blue Nation. I'm Graham Henderson. I'm a Scottish guy. Huge Texans fan. Been following the team since late. Go over and see them as much as I can. Really quite a fanatical supporter. I'm probably known as one of those guys when you go to the stadium. You know, you see those guys all dressed up and stuff, and that's me. I've kind of adopted that kind of way of being. I run the Texans UK Twitter page as well. Kind of inherited that, so it's been fun. It's been a learning curve. You know, there's a lot of really experienced guys out there who know what they're talking about, and I just try and be the vessel to try and get that out there. Maybe don't have as much knowledge as I should have, but I'm a fan at the end of the day. You know, I don't try and be a front office guy or anything like that. I'm just the guy in the stands drinking beer. So love chatting football. So this should be a lot of fun today.
Excellent. Right, before we jump into the show, a quick shout out to the sponsor, Northern Summit Clothing. As you can see by my lovely cap that I have on, this guy does great clothes. Again, not a paid sponsor, just a great friend of the show and a great friend of mine. Go and check out Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. He's Northern Summit Clothing. Into today's show, gentlemen. A very interesting one. Division rivals. We're not here to gang up on you, Graham. Don't worry.
Okay.
You know, but let's start with probably the biggest news coming out of Indy in the past week. Philip Rivers retiring. Had his best year as a quarterback in Indy. When this broke, Graham, did you think Deshaun Watson just got a whole lot more expensive?
No. I genuinely can't see him going anywhere. I know there's a lot of noise coming out of the Houston media and the NFL media, but I really think that there's simple ways to fix this whole issue. And if they just, I don't even know if they've been around a table yet. I think this has all been done through text message, maybe direct message on social medias and stuff. You know, it's not been really taken care of the right way. But I think appointing the right head coach will go a long way to solving that. So I don't think he's going to go Indy. Even if he did fall out with us completely, I don't think he'd quite stab us in the back like that. But it's a shame to see Philip Rivers retire. Great quarterback, you know. I'm not surprised he had a good year in Indy with that offensive line. You know, he's historically a gunslinger and stuff. You know, he'll keep you in games. He's got a funny way of throwing it, but he's a good quarterback and a good guy to have there to teach whoever's coming on. Like, was it Jacoby Brissett you've got just now?
Yeah, well, he's our backup, arguably going to be our number one. Hopefully not. Nothing against Jacoby, he's just not the guy. Takes me on to my next point, Xavier. The Texans trying to poach Matt Eberflus away from us. Most Colt fans would think I would be happy with that, as I'm not his biggest fan. But with us losing Nick Sirianni, I don't know if I've got that right, with him going away, we really can't afford to lose our offensive coordinator and our defensive coordinator, as well as our QB1. What are your thoughts on that, Xavier?
Yeah, I would really like to keep Eberflus. As much as it kind of pains me losing Sirianni, because I think he is a really good running back guru. I think he's done a great job with the running backs, and Jacob Eason as well. I think we can part ways with him because he kind of is a Frank Reich clone. you know what I'm saying there. He runs that same kind of offense, same kind of style, stuff like that. So, you know, of all places Eberflus could go, I'm happy he didn't go to the Texans because having to play against a Matt Eberflus coach, Texans team with the Marsalis, Zach Cunningham, guys like that with the J.J. Watt, you know, it wouldn't be fun seeing him 2 times a year. So I'm happy he stayed, and hopefully he goes to a different team.
Cool. We have a question from our fabled viewer, Tom. I will get up on the screen. I'll ask Xavier first what he thinks, and then I'll ask you, Graham. If Deshaun Watson does want out of Texas, and it's not just rumors, I don't think he'll go into the division, so I don't think he'll come to us. That could leave both teams without a quarterback. Where does that put both teams in the rebuilding market, to say? Xavier, you first, bud.
Yeah, that would be a real tough situation for the Texans. Us too as well, but the Texans, you know, offensive line's kind of bad other than left tackle. They got a lot of holes, and if they lost their franchise quarterback on top of that, that would be it would just be like insult to injury, really, for any Texans fans, in my opinion. No hate, man. I'm not hating on your team or anything. You all beat us a couple times in recent history, so I think what you've done recently has been good, but just for somehow management to blunder so bad to give up Deshaun Watson, it would just be mind-boggling to me. So I don't think that's going to happen. It's a possibility. I don't think it will. But for the Colts, you know, I think we're good. I think our team's set up. I think we're literally just a quarterback away from being on a huge run next year. So we got some things to figure out. You know, are we going to go Stafford? Are we going to go Darnold? Are we going to trade up? You know, we got some questions to answer, but I think Ballard will figure that out.
Graham, with this question, you know, I'm a massive Arsenal fan, and even though we just lost today, brilliant. But Cesc Fabregas played for Arsenal, and there was that famous year between 2007 and 2008, I think it was. He didn't want to play for Arsenal, and you could see it on the pitch, and it had a really negative effect on the team. Is it worth keeping Deshaun Watson, forcing him to stay if he does want out? And where does that question, where does that leave you in the rebuild?
That's a good one, actually. I think that if he was to be here and he was forced to stay in Houston and he was shown that he didn't really want to play, I think you just have to bite it and like sit him. Mm-hmm. There's no point in having him out there if he's not going to compete. But I don't think that's Deshaun Watson's character. I think he's a winner. Even it, you seen it spells this past season, he wasn't happy, you know, like. But he still wanted to compete and he still wanted to win. Now we were 1-score games 8 times that we lost. I think it was 8 losses by 1 score this season, and it was all because of Deshaun. I can quite honestly say it was Deshaun Watson that kept us in those games. So that just shows he wants to win. He's a competitor. Now, I reckon that between the two teams, if we were to lose Deshaun, I think the Colts is it's the better team to want to. It's got more value at this particular point in time. As you pointed out, there's a lot of holes. You know, the defense was awful this year. You know, we've got some big names, but no shows as well. So I think, and with the lack of draft capital that we've got, you really can't go and lose your franchise quarterback, or really who's wanting to come in there and like build it from the ground up. Usually there's got to be a few big pieces there to tempt good head coaches in. And I think the fact that we don't have the draft capital, even though I'm not totally sold on the draft as a way to build, I think we've got a lot of high contracts. We've got a lot of big contracts, and if you lose your franchise quarterback, then, well, you know, and obviously the mess that's going on in the front office with old Joe Easterby, that doesn't help anyone want to come into that situation, you know. Nick only come in because he knows Easterby. I think that's why we went for him, because he knows the guy. But if we were went for another general manager, that could have started friction. right off the bat. So there's a lot going on with the Texans just now, and I think we really need to focus on getting QB1 happy again and settled in. I don't think
he only wanted to take part in the GM. What was it? The coaching hiring. He didn't want to do it. He just wanted his word to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I think it just had to. He just wanted it to echo in there, you know, like
Yeah.
someone to. Because I think he was saying it not just for him. I think he was being the voice and contact for the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was like as a player personnel thing. You know, I'm the team captain. You know, it would be nice that my opinion did reach the top going forward, because I want to win a Super Bowl just as much as you. So I think, and to find out the way he did when he was on holiday it was quite a rough one. So you can see why there's been a bit of backlash on it, but they just really need to sort it out, you know, just a bit adult. Yeah,
Need to sit around the table, have a beer and have a chat. That's what they need to do.
Just mash it out.
Have a pint of Tennent's. That's a famous Scottish beer, by the way, Xavier. That's why I said that. It wasn't.
It's rubbish.
Hey, it's what, £1.80 a pint. I'm not going to complain.
I don't drink it.
Anyway, you mentioned a good point there. High contracts. I don't know what your cap space is. Ours is pretty good, but Xavier, we have a lot of players up on contract this offseason. What's the main priority for the Colts?
I'm still going to say it's quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're going to be getting or Xavier Rhodes is going to be off. Justin Houston, Danico Autry, Marlon Mack, Malik Hooker, guys like that, and that's some talent. There's going to be a lot of teams that's going to pick up some talent from the free agency this year coming from the Colts. So, you know, keeping that in mind, it'd be nice to get a couple of them guys back as well. But with the COVID restrictions, all the cap space going down, we're definitely going to have to make some sacrifices. So, you know, if we have to let some of them guys walk to get a QB1 to come in, paying a guy like Matthew Stafford or maybe even Carson Wentz. I know it's the forbidden fruit at this point. No one wants Carson Wentz, but I mean, I'd take Carson. I mean, if he'd restrict his contract just a little bit, you know, that $30 million, whatever he's getting paid right now, it's a little steep for how he just played. But if he'd reduce his contract just a little bit, I'd still take him on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we could get Xavier Rhodes back, that'd be excellent.
Graham, it isn't all doom and gloom for Texan fans. Although, you know, this is the time where you're going to find out who are the bandwagon fans and who are the actual real Texan fans. But going into this draft and going into this offseason, forget head coach and all that jazz. What is the Texans' priority? Because I thought you guys were really going to keep pace with us and the Titans this year. I thought it was going to be a three-way scrap for the division title. Like you said, you played us twice and it come down to 2 fumbles in the last second. That's football. So coming into this offseason, what do you want to see from the front office?
I think I want to see like a defense-heavy kind of draft, because if you look at how much we got torched on defense, you know, when we were putting up big numbers on offense, we couldn't keep the other offense off the field. You know, we can't. The amount of times I counted that we were like 3rd and 20 this season, and guys got the first down. Unbelievable. You know, it's frustrating. I'm lucky I've got a TV left watching that. You know, it's so frustrating on that side of things, and you can see that coming. Like, a lot of people give JJ a lot of stick. You know, the guy's getting older. He can't carry the whole defense on his back. And like last night, I was watching a breakdown of some film that was put up on social media, and it showed how the Titans ran away from JJ most of the second half. I wouldn't say all the time, but they're obviously still game planning for him. So he's still a figure out there. And then you've got like Whitney Merciless. Like, I was a big Whit fan, but this past season, I don't know where he's been. You know, and his contract's huge, and for the amount of we're talking like it's almost coming down to millions per tackle. That's his kind of numbers, and we all know that's not good enough. So I really like the look of Cunningham, Jacob Martin, you know, Charles Omenihu. These guys, I think we've got a solid base here, but I think there's just too many holes. Our secondary is soft, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really like to see that. I think our O-line's improving. I'd like to see Mark Sharpen in there a bit more. I rate Mark Sharpen, in there as a left guard, but it depends on. Well, I think we need a better O-line coach as well. It all starts with the coaching, really, because you can't have all these guys not gelling all season. And yeah, like the losses against you guys were heartbreaking, man. That could have been 2 wins for us, especially that one when
it should have been
on the goal. Like Nick Martin, man, you've got one job.
Yeah,
I think that, defense for me on the draft. And because we don't have any picks 1 and 2, it's going to be hard. But where did Brady get picked?
Yeah. Well,
you just got to look at talent all the way through the draft.
Yeah. Graham brought up a good point there, Xavier. Colts fans will know how good Chris Ballard is at drafting, and especially drafting backwards rather than upwards. The talent, especially on defense this year, seems to be there that you can draft lower down. Xavier, you like to break stuff down. Have you seen anyone who's going to drop to these later rounds that the Texans could add to their defensive firepower?
Yeah, a guy like Christian Barmore out of Alabama. You all love him. Interior defensive lineman. That's someone I think you guys need right now. You could, of course, go after someone in free agency. Like there's going to be a guy from the Broncos that's going to be a free agent that'll be really good as well. If I could remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, Christian Barmore would be a great guy for you all to get. Maybe a couple months ago he was projected like first round. Now he's down to the 3rd round area. So grabbing him in the 3rd round would be great for the Texans.
Time to talk about the black sheep of the division, let's say, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Massive news for them, obviously, getting Urban Meyer in. That brings massive talks to who's going number 1 because of, obviously, Justin Fields' Ohio State connection with Urban Meyer's. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, a fantastic quarterback. Graham, would you be more worried if the Jaguars drafted Justin Fields or if the Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence?
Tough. That's a tough one. I've heard all about Trevor Lawrence, but what was that game Justin Fields he went off on just a couple of weeks ago, did he not?
Was it the semi-final?
Yeah, he went off, didn't he? So he obviously got a lot of talent. Like I'm not a big college ball guy. Like I don't want a lot of college ball. I just don't have the time for it. But obviously all the top names, you keep seeing them. But I think I would be more worried if they took Lawrence, because I think he's more polished from what I've seen. He probably starts day 1.
Yeah.
And he can, you know what I mean? He could carry you. So I think he'd be more dangerous. And it's another Clemson quarterback, isn't it? Proving that they can go day 1.
Yeah.
So they must be doing something right there.
Xavier, same question. Would you be more worried with Jacksonville with Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Trevor Lawrence is going to come into the league, probably set the league on fire. So, especially them just getting Urban Meyer too as well. I think Jacksonville's taking a step in the right direction. It's a matter of, is Urban Meyer going to be able to coach Lawrence up to enough to where he's going to be legendary? Because I think even just by himself, I think he's going to be a good quarterback for sure in the league. It's just, will he be legendary?
Yeah. The Jaguars, they do have the number 1 pick, but they have a lot to sort out on that team. Like we said, they made the right step getting Urban Meyer in, who I think is an excellent coach from Ohio State. That's where I learnt about him. But it seems like they're trying to get rid of these big name players. You know, when they got rid of Jalen Ramsey, everyone was like, "You're mental." They got rid of, I'm going to murder his name, Ngakwe, is it? They got rid of him, and everyone's like, "You're mental." And at the minute, they are rock bottom of the pile. I know I said it's not all doom and gloom, Graham, but how do you stop the Texans from slipping down to this bottom of the pile? And I'm going to be nice here. The AFC South for a long time was a joke division. Nobody wanted to be in the AFC South. We was all laughed at. We was the NFC East pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say, you know, if it weren't for the Texans getting unlucky on a couple of occasions, we would have been the hardest division to play in. And I don't think anyone wants to come to an AFC South team on any day of the week. So how do you keep up with the Colts and the Titans next year and not let the Jaguars step over you?
Well, I totally agree with what you just said there, that the AFC South has been a laughingstock in the league. And that's well documented. But if you look over the last few years, how many teams from the AFC South have made the playoffs? There's been like a couple of times the past few years, there's been 3 teams in there, you know, and that isn't by chance. You know, that's by getting record. That's a winning record. And they can say that, oh, you can pick up easy division wins. But if you're all competing in the playoffs, then you're obviously tit for tat anyway there.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, I don't know how we stop the rot and become. I'm not even going to say the Jags here. I'm going to say this off season, this like couple of weeks of off season, I've been preparing to be a Brown. You know. Like I'm getting ready for 18 years of hurt here. You know? It's that messy.
Yeah,
it's been like my timelines just now are just awash with gifs of people throwing themselves out windows, you know, setting themselves on fire.
Yeah.
You know, it's been one of that off seasons already. I don't think I can remember in all the time I've been watching an off season being as turbulent as our one has been right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this stuff normally happens down the line.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how it really starts with sorting in house. I think I don't know if you probably know Jack Easterby.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard the name? Yeah.
Yeah.
He is like he went up the ranks in the Patriots. You know, we're like being deemed as the Patriots South a few times with our Let's Be the Patriots test, if you like. You know, we'll bring in a lot of their coaches, their ex-players. It hasn't worked. But this guy seems to have stuck about, and he seems to have Carl McNair's ear, which is the worrying thing. But I think he's the stem in most of the problems with personnel in there. There was a couple Sports Illustrated articles about him that got released lately, and there was things in there from like anonymous players. Obviously, they're not going to say their name because that just puts a target on their back. But like this guy was getting personnel followed home and stuff to see where they're like hanging out, and this is a guy who's preaching culture, winning culture. You know, that just preaches to me mistrust, disingenuous. You know, and this is the kind of thing that we're needing to weed out. And if we don't weed this out, this is going to start reflecting on the field badly. And as we all know, results matter in this league. So I think if we can't sort out this issues, then I don't think it matters who we bring in personnel wise as players, and that there's going to be this like devil following us around. Mm-hmm. So unless we sort that out, I think the Texans are in for a really bad year. Like this season could be like woeful. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't good last year, but at least we were competitive in a lot of those games. You know, we pushed a lot of people. Yeah, there was a few blowouts, and we had a bad start to the season. You know, like 3 out of the first 4 games was against like contenders for the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of problems in the front office first. Sort them, get them sorted out. and then we'll see where we're going. But it's just all the misinformation that's coming out just now. There's a few good outlets there that are pretty spot on usually. Like a couple of days later, you get what they've been saying comes out as print, but there's still a lot of misinformation, and that I think doesn't help our cause, and it's obviously going to affect any sort of rebuild. So,
yeah. Take it from us Colts fans, it only takes that one poisonous person. We had Ryan Grigson, he who shall not be fucking named, ruined Andrew Luck's career. I don't think he'll never be seen in Indy again. He'll get run straight out of Indy. But look at what's happened from that. We got him out, thankfully. Jim Irsay grew a set and told him F off. And we brung in Chris Ballard, who done an amazing job. We brung in Frank Reich, who, even though gets criticised, I criticise him, has done an amazing job. So it can turn around very quickly. We went from having no quarterback to all of a sudden in the division, in the playoffs, and almost beating the Bills with a 40-year-old man at the helm. So things can turn quickly. Let's talk about the team that nobody likes in the division. If everyone likes the Jags because they don't really do anything, nobody likes the Titans because just fuck the Titans.
Yeah, exactly. Can get behind that.
I think we can all get behind that. And I don't know why it is I hate him. I just got a dislike to him because I feel like for some reason they feel like they've been hard done by Titan fans. Like they wasn't a shocking franchise for so many years before, getting variables in there. Xavier, first of all to you, there's only so long, as we know, you can rely on one player. We relied on Andrew Luck heavily for years, and it killed his career in the end. How long can the Titans rely on Derrick Henry?
Probably 4 more years until he gets about 30, and it's down the hill from there. So, as much as I like Vrabel a lot, I can't lie. I love Vrabel. I love his attitude. I love how much he loves the game. Like he truly is a student of the game. But man, just everything about that organization, I just can't stand. So it doesn't even matter. From top down, even their damn jerseys, they got swords on their jerseys. Man, come on, you putting swords on your jerseys. But yeah, like I said, probably 4 more years. Derrick Henry, he runs like what, a 4.3, 4.4 at 250 pounds. Eventually that's got to go away. Eventually that 4.4 speed can go to 4.5, and it's going to go to 4.6. So once that happens, I don't think he's going to be more than Trent Richardson, honestly, at that point.
That's a big shout. Graham, how long can the Titans rely on Derrick Henry to keep bailing them out of situations? Taking the Ravens game in example.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. The king is dead. That I tweeted that like right away after that game. Wearing his silly crown. Like, I really don't think I'd agree. The Titans seem to think that they're hard done by, and they've got this chip on their shoulder, and look at us, we're edgy and stuff. When that pick happened, and Marcus Peters ran all over their logo. I honestly was laughing my ass off because it's like this is what happens when you poke like more talented teams, and I believe the Ravens are a more talented team than the Titans.
Yeah,
this is what happens. They figured out how to stop Henry. I don't even think did Henry even break 100 yards in that game. I don't even think he broke 80 yards in that game. And it was he had a lot of carries. They just worked him out, and then that forces them to play in a game that they can rely on, but they don't use it to win games. They aren't a pass-first team. They're a let's run Henry into the dirt, wear out the defense, and then we'll start picking you off at the end. And I think we were certainly that's another 2 games that they had to beat us in overtime, and then they scored a last-second field goal that come off the upright. To beat us.
Yeah, you just couldn't beat them, could you? Just wanted to see the Colts off that little bit. You just couldn't beat them.
Yeah, no, we tried. Like one of my best mates, a Colts fan, and my cousin, hang about with all the time, he's a Titans fan, so you can imagine like the
hell.
the stuff that goes on in our chats. You know, it's just like shit talking all the time.
Yeah.
But like he gets it. My cousin, he gets it the worst because he's a Titans fan. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
As he deserves. As he deserves.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they can rely on it forever. I don't think their defense was good enough this year. Like last year, I think they took everyone by surprise with what they did in the playoffs, that run they had.
Mm-hmm.
And that there wasn't a surprise this year in the playoffs. Like people were more prepared for them in the playoffs. So I don't think they would have got anywhere near, even if they'd managed to knock off the Ravens. Because they beat them in overtime as well, did they not? In the regular season.
Yeah, and that's where it all started, wasn't it? Yeah.
So even if they had managed to knock them off again, I don't think they were getting close to last year's heights.
Yeah.
It pains you to see like they rely on Henry getting like 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get 200 yards a game, then like the wheels are coming off. You know. And I like Vrabel as well because he used to be like a coordinator with us. But I don't like when he starts, you know, all those little penalties, you know, 12 men on the field, like against the Patriots last year, you know, let's delay a game. Let's like that stuff was like totally annoying. That's like I was going, that's so Titans football. That is just Titans football all the way there, you know. So I don't think they'll last. I don't think it'll last forever. I think they've got maybe next year you'll see the drop off. I think personally with Henry because I think teams are going to be better adjusted to him.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
They also just lost their offensive coordinator, so we'll see how they do there. Because I'm pretty Vrabel was a defensive coordinator, wasn't he? Yeah, Texans. Yeah, so. I've seen a lot of people in Titans Twitter saying that their offensive coordinator was the guy that really had that good power run scheme going. You know, they'd find some favorable matchups in there. So I'm interested to see if Vrabel's going to be able to adjust without that guy.
Okay, just I know you guys didn't make it to the playoffs, Graham, but this is more for Xavier. But then I can come to you if you want to answer it. But I watched Wildcard Weekend, the divisional round, all the games so far. There's only maybe 2 or 3 teams that I would say were better than the Colts this season. Is that me being a homer, or was that the case when you watched it?
I'm a Colts fan, so you can call me a homer, you can call me whatever you want to. But I've made a lot of NFL team tier lists. So, you know, I'd have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, stuff like that. And I'd always have the Colts in the S tier. And there'd be people come in and they'd be like, why are the Colts in the S tier? Why are the Colts in the S tier? And I would just be like, look, this roster is just from top down. There's no weakness. There's no weakness in the O-line. There's no weakness in the tight end core, receiver cores. I mean, you know, even with T.Y. Hilton being kind of having a down year, he's still good, you know. So it's just that's kind of how I looked at this team. You know, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but our biggest weakness was either A, our secondary, or B, Phillip Rivers. It was one or the other. That's the only really place you could look at as a weakness on this team. So yeah, I can completely agree. I could definitely see us being the top 3, top 4 team. And there was actually more than just us and more than just Colts fans saying that. I saw a few other people saying the same thing.
Graham, you can feel free to answer that question. Or was there another team you saw throughout the league that was better than some teams in the playoffs?
Well, to be honest, I thought you guys were you beat yourself against the Bills.
Yeah.
100% beat yourself against the Bills. I had you guys down to go through that game, no problem. Just with, like Xavier said, the strength of your roster was enough to get you through that game. You know, it's a solid unit. Like it's always a hard game when the Colts come in, especially just now with the team they've got. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke because I'm on your show, but
I keep doing it.
It is a tough team.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. And as for like the playoffs, are you meaning like just on the AFC side or like just the league in general?
In the league in general, I mean, I watched all games. Nearly killed myself doing it, as you know, time difference over here.
Yeah.
Made myself ill off it, but anyway, enough of the pity. Thanks, but I watched the Colts and the Bills game, and like I said, we beat ourselves. But just throughout the season, I mean, I thought if we played the Ravens, we would have beat them. I thought if somehow we played the Titans, we would have beat them. I thought if we played, we wouldn't have played the Bears or anyone, but if we had played the Bears, we would have beat them. We would have beat New Orleans. We would have beat LA. I just think we would have beat probably 3/4 of the teams in the playoffs. Was there anyone who you saw in the league who you thought they would beat any other team?
Just really, it's going on the NFC side. I think it's the two teams that are left in their division game.
Yeah.
You know, Green Bay and Tampa, I think, could pretty much go anywhere and beat anyone. Mm-hmm. The Saints fell off that. I think they were there maybe the end of last season, start of the season, but the rest of this season, I haven't really thought much about them. But I generally don't think it's the two. I know, is it 1 and 2 that's in the AFC? Kansas 1 and Buffalo 2 in the. I don't believe they're 1 and 2. Not on record, obviously, but looking at the two teams, I don't think the Bills are the second best team in the AFC. Mm-hmm. I really don't believe that. I think there's a lot of people drinking the Kool-Aid there with the Bills team.
Yeah.
As for the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs who've got like a million weapons. You know, Mahomes can throw the ball over his, like looking the other way over his head, and all that. But I think there's definitely teams that could beat the Chiefs, and I think it just depends on who you're matched up with. But I don't believe the two best teams are still left in it on the AFC South, in the AFC. Sorry, like I thought the Steelers were solid all year, and then they come unstuck in that Browns game. You know, from what I seen, the Steelers beat themselves in that game. You know, like I think the Steelers had a pretty good roster and they were pretty solid. And seeing what they did to us at the start of the season, I was like, I can fancy the Steelers on all the way here. I think I actually had them picked to go all the way in a Super Bowl predictor.
Yeah, I had a couple looking the same way too.
Yeah, the Steelers were looking solid all the way. You know, best defensive player in the league as well. Well, Watt, other Watt.
Yeah, very underrated. Very underrated.
Yeah. So the Steelers for me, I don't know what they just imploded. Like, no wonder Ben Roethlisberger sat out there for so long after. He couldn't believe it. He was shell shocked.
He's still there. He's still sat there.
He's got Bernie beside him now, though.
Yeah, big Bernie.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Talking about veteran quarterbacks, you know, Drew Brees retired, Phil Rivers retired. Big Ben, I think, in himself wants to play another year, but needs to be honest with himself. Does he have another year in it? I don't think so. I don't think Tom Brady will retire just out of spite, even though if he did, you know, that's another one of the old guy gone. But just to say, Drew Brees was god-awful. I think he had 4 turnovers or something like that. Tom Brady only had to play from the Saints 30-yard line all game. Ben Roethlisberger, I just murdered that. Big Ben was awful. You know, Tom Brady, haven't been massively impressed with these playoffs. If Philip Rivers had played like any of them other quarterbacks, he would have been absolutely crucified, Xavier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Probably by me as well. So.
Yeah. Great. I got my next. There we go. That's my next question. Do you know much about Motor City Dan Campbell, Graham?
No.
To the Lions.
No. I don't know a lot.
He basically is a solid guy. He's our new head coach.
Yeah.
You know, he talks the talk. It's to be seen whether he does walk the walk. I know Sean Payton speaks highly of him. Do you need a motivator? Do you need a tactician? Do you need a guru or a lifelong fan? Who are you personally looking for this head coaching job?
For like if I was looking for a head coach, I'd be wanting him to be a guy who, you know, he's got a solid background in the game. He isn't too young, you know, he's got some years on the tires. But he also, you respect the guy, you know, he's hard with you, but you know the door's always open.
Yeah.
One of those guys, you know. He's not your best mate, but he's there for you. That usually, any sport I used to play, that used to be the guys that got the best out of you, you know, because they wanted you to excel. They want you to be better than who you are coming into the building in the morning or whatever. So that's the kind of guy I'm looking for. And it's very hard to find those coaches who have got all of that floating around. But it's just, it might be personal preference as well. Like Deshaun seems to be stuck on Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
I think I got that right. You know, but is it good to get too stuck on a guy? Because if you don't get him, if he's not the guy that comes in, does that make you automatically hate the coach that comes in? And you don't want to learn his scheme. You don't want to learn anything from him. So it's maybe best to be a bit more open to suggestion who comes in, you know, and we're pretty much interviewing everyone and anyone just now, I think.
If you had to choose one of the 31 head coaches out of the league, who would you take?
Oh, me. You know what I mean? You can't. Andy Reid's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, big Andy Reid. What a spirit!
You know, I mean, just the way he comes across.
Yeah.
Like I love watching like the Hard Knocks programs and stuff because you get a real insight into the guys. You know, instead of them just being some character on the sideline screaming and talking like this and a bit of paper, you actually get to see what the guys are like. And there's a few good head coaches out there, but I really like what Andy Reid's done over the years. You know, in every team he goes to, the amount of respect that he gets coming out of that. Like, even when he leaves, the fan base is still love him. Even if he's playing against you twice a year, they still love him.
And just the absolute bollocks he had to throw a 4th-and-1 with fucking Chad Henne in there when the game's on the line, when he didn't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just love him. It's an absolute spit. I'd love to go out for a pint with him. I think he'd be an amazing night out guy. I think he'd take you to his local barbecue spot and all that. Xavier, if you were the Texans front office and you had to pick one of the 31 other coaches in the league, who would you choose? Would you go Andy Reid or would you go somewhere else?
I'd probably go Kyle Shanahan. I like Kyle Shanahan a lot. I think he's a damn good coach. I think he's kind of underrated a little bit too. I know they didn't have the best of season, you know, but you got to think pretty much every good player on their team was injured for more than 6 or 7 games at the time. So, from what I've seen, his offensive scheme, what he's been able to do with probably the most overrated quarterback in recent memory, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's been pretty impressive. So, you know, if I was the Texans, if somehow Kyle Shanahan fell into my hands like pot of gold or something, I would probably be super ecstatic.
Graham, you know, just playing the hypothetical game, Deshaun Watson does want to be traded. You know, what the Texans have put out there, all the rumors that have been put out there, is a 1st and a 2nd, a 1st and a 2nd, and a 1st and a 3rd, and a 1st and a 2nd, or something ridiculous like that. Realistically, because no one can afford that, what would you give up for Deshaun Watson? You know, if a realistic trade, I mean, you could say I'll give up 10 firsts for Deshaun Watson, but we know that isn't going to happen. What would you give up, and who could you realistically see coming in for him?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's been a lot of chat. A lot of people are saying that the only real trade there is out there is Mahomes. You know, that's the kind of level of player you're wanting back.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, you'd want Mahomes in and a couple of first rounds over the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely what the price tag on him is. I'm not saying that would ever be a thing that would happen, but that's the caliber of player that you have to get in exchange. It's not just moving him on for, I don't know, trying to think of someone, even Lamar Jackson. It's not bringing in Lamar Jackson because they're not the same type of quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's a high price tag. That's why it's going to be so hard to pay. Give me your first until Deshaun retires.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. So I would, and thankfully it's not like Bill O'Brien doing the trade, or we'd end up with like a couple Haribo packets, a couple boxes of sweeties, maybe some soda in the soda machine,
bag of chips.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like the Hopkins trade all over again.
I guess you got a Snickers and a bag of chips with that one.
Yeah, no, it was all fine until we finished them, and then it was, then you're just sitting there and regretting sweetie papers.
But you said you would like Andy Reid in as the head coach. You said,
yeah, like in a hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetical. You said you'd like, to swap Patrick Mahomes for Deshaun Watson. Just go and support the Chiefs, mate.
No way, man. There's no way you get both, you see. So
I like the loyalty, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. I had no problem with Chiefs or like Chiefs fans, but after they won the Super Bowl, man, some of them have grown a set of balls.
Dynasty. It's all you hear from them, man.
Yeah, it's like we're taking over. We're the new team to last for 14 years. No
chance. Andy Reid doesn't have 14 years of eating unlimited ribs and wings left.
The Bills, here's one. The Bills will beat the Chiefs because Mahomes isn't over concussion, but they rushed him through.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bills win, the Bucks win, and Brady does the Bills again in the Super Bowl.
That's a hot take.
You know what I mean?
That's just warmed my hands up. That's just melted some of the Yeah.
That's the way the stars line up in these things. You get rid of him out of your division. You can safely win the division now. Oh wait, but the ghost of Christmas past comes back and haunts you in the Super Bowl.
That's a nice segue. Cheers for that, Graham. That segued perfectly into the next bit.
I didn't even know that was coming.
Graham just gave us his pick, Xavier. Who are your picks for Super Bowl champion? Well, winners this weekend, and then winner of it all.
I think I'm wanting to say if Mahomes isn't just completely dizzy every single snap this next Sunday, I think he beats the Bills. And then it's probably – I really just want to see Aaron Rodgers versus Mahomes. That's just what I want to see the most.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to happen. The Bucs got a crazy team. Their team might be the best in the league, like top down. I know I talked about the Colts might be that, but the Buccaneers, they got 3 wide receiver ones. They got Tom Brady. And what the hell else you need, you got it all at that point. But, I'm wanting to say the Chiefs will end up beating the Bucs in the Super Bowl. Now, like I said, I want to see the Packers. I want to see Rodgers. I think Mike McCarthy shit all over his career for years. I think he's earned a little more respect. Get him another Super Bowl there, but I think Mahomes wins another one, and hopefully Chiefs fans can act like they've been there.
Yeah. We do have who's playing tonight. I believe it's the Bills and the Chiefs.
Are they both on Sunday? I think they're both.
Are they both tomorrow? Are they?
Yeah, I think it's like a divisional Sunday.
Ah, right, okay. I was getting excited for watching football tonight. I must have missed that. Anyway, so Bills and Chiefs, you've got 2 fantastic quarterbacks. Josh Allen's had to prove himself through the longer route more than Mahomes. Graham, Mahomes or Allen, who's going to be in the league longer? Who's going to get the last laugh?
Mahomes will be in the league longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mahomes is more set up to be like your Aaron Rodgers and your Tom Brady. You know, he's got better pocket awareness, whereas you can see Allen still likes to run those crazy runs, and because he's big,
yeah.
you know, I mean, he thinks he can take the shots, but those shots will start mounting up. He's like Big Ben started that way, did he not? You know, he could truck downfield, but these linebackers, when they see that happening too often, you know, they're starting to line up those shots a wee bit harder. So I think it'll be Mahomes will be the quarterback. It'll be in the league the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen to me just kind of looks like, he kind of looks like Brett Favre with mobility. And if you gave Brett Favre mobility, what would he have been doing? Doing the same shit Josh Allen's doing right now. Been trying to run over everyone he can. So, you know, that 6'5", 240-pound frame, you know, it looks good on paper, but then for him, you know, like you said, even against us, man, he was going at Darius Leonard a couple times there, and Darius Leonard stuck him right in his gut. So, you know, hopefully he can get that under control. You know, I mean, if I was coach, I'd be like, look, man, you can't, you know, you got to start sliding. You got to start doing something, because take too many of them, you're going to end up getting injured.
On to the other side of the league. The worst side of the league, if you ask me. The AFC's been fantastically competitive this year. You have two veteran quarterbacks. I know me and Xavier definitely hate fucking Tom Brady with a passion.
When you said that, man, I was like, please, God, don't let that shit happen. It's not another Tom Brady Super Bowl.
Telling you, there's no way he's not getting into Canton, and Peyton Manning's the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl with two different teams.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's got to get that one as well.
Yeah, that is true.
Even if the league give it to him, you know.
Yeah. Well, that was some question. Graham, who has had? I know Aaron Rodgers has the longer time left on his career, I'd say, but who has had the better career? Obviously, Tom Brady has all the rings, but that, you know, Aaron Rodgers has won a Super Bowl or two, I can't remember. Is also a fantastic quarterback. Who's the better one? Who do you like better personally?
Well, I don't actually like Rodgers much either, to be honest. I on a personal note, I don't know what it is about him. There's just something about the dude I just don't like. I don't know if it's a bit, he comes across as arrogant on the field or something. There's just something about him that just I don't like. But you can't deny that Brady might have a lot of rings, but if you look over the league, Aaron Rodgers is like MVP shout pretty much every season he plays. You know, he does ridiculous things, and I don't think he's often had the best wide receiving core in his teams. You know, he seems to be able to put up numbers, and you know, he's got the big cannon arm as well. He just seems to be able to do it all. You know, and he's a tough guy. He's played through a lot of injuries as well. So I actually think that Rodgers is. I know rings speak and everything, but I think Rodgers has definitely been, like, for me, the better quarterback. You know, more dependable and all that. I think Brady, sometimes he had to have everything around him perfect. You know, it all had to be right for him to do what he did. But I think Rodgers could pretty much walk into any team. You know, it's got its faults. We're still coming out with a win. Yeah, I'm going to make it happen. Personally, that's what I think. Yeah. I still don't like either of them.
Xavier?
I'm kind of on the same page with him, man. I think Rodgers as a player is better than Brady. I know everyone just likes to bring up rings. They're like, oh, 6 rings, he's a GOAT, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit about that. I never have, ever. You know, even with the Dan Marino discussion, I mean, he is literally the prime example of rings do not matter when you come to judging a quarterback, because Dan Marino is possibly the best pure passer we've ever seen, and he don't have a damn ring to speak of it. So, you know, that's just one unfortunate case. Most quarterbacks are going to get a ring. Even I mean, hell, even Aaron Rodgers got a ring with Mike McCarthy, who might be the shittiest coach in the league currently. I mean, truly, he is awful. And the Cowboys extended this guy. Cowboys looked at him and said, hey, they said, come on, man. I see how bad you are. Let's give you another year. You're going to do great. You're going to do great next year. So, speaking about both of them, I think Rodgers is the better player. I think he is a dickhead to his teammates, so I think it kind of holds him down a little bit. But when it comes to just being able to get out of the pocket, run a 4.7 and just throw one sidearm hit on the sideline, for a toe drag, yeah, Rodgers is that guy.
Yeah.
We've been speaking football for 55 minutes now, so maybe the last couple of points. Is JJ Watt up on contract, or has he got one more year?
1 year left, I think.
1 year
but
left.
From what we're hearing is he wants to go to a contender.
Yeah.
Which,
and he's been fantastic for the Houston community. He did loads after Katrina, was it? Hurricane Katrina?
Harvey.
Oh, Hurricane Harvey. Yeah, he did loads after that. He generally loves Houston, so I can't see him coming to Indianapolis. I'd love to have him, don't get me wrong. I think DeForest Buckner and JJ Watt, Jesus Christ, nobody want to play us. So speaking of that, Xavier, realistically, what would you offer in a trade for JJ Watt, saying he's got 2 years left, I'd say?
The Texans organization, they're beggars can't be choosers. They don't got a first or second. So, I'm throwing up a second rounder. I don't know if I could give up a first round for a guy that's only going to be there 2 years. But a second rounder, if they said, hey, we'll give you J.J. Watt for the 50th pick in the draft, which will sure up our edge player for the next 2 years, I'd say, to hell with it, especially a guy that, of his pedigree. He's still elite. Whenever he's on the field, as long as he's not injured, he's an elite player any day of the week. And we saw that against them one time this year, because on third down, we ran 3rd and 1, we ran a jet sweep where we released him on the edge. And J.J. Watt blew it up. It was like we were just thinking he wouldn't be able to recognize that or something. I was like, damn, man, of all people to go at on a play on 3rd and 1, we're going to pick J.J. Watt. You could look at so many other people on this line. We're like, all right, J.J. Watt, that's who we're going to go at. But, yeah, second round, maybe second and a fifth, second and a sixth, something like that.
Graham, is that a pure insult to offer a second and sixth for an absolute legend in there?
Well, it all goes on what he's got left in the tank, doesn't it? You can't be expecting riches for, and he's been injured for us for like three years. This is his first full season in like 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, beggars can't be choosers. I would like him to stay. I think he's still got a lot to offer us, but you got to love the guy, eh? I don't know, from a different, supporting a different franchise like yourselves, is it a hate on JJ? Because I know a lot of people seem to think it's all like the fluff of television, and he's like too nice a guy. But for me, you just got to root for the guy. And I love everything he's done for the team, the community. I would love him to see out his days as a Texan, but I would hate for him to miss out on winning a Super Bowl just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Me, just my own self needs, wanting him to be there forever.
Yeah,
I would like to see him go somewhere. I'd like to see him out our division. I would hate to see him coming the other way 2 times a year. Going to the Colts or whatever. I'd prefer he went NFC or something.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Green Bay obviously is one of the places you'd think he'd land, going home. Maybe the Bears, because his wife, she plays soccer up there now in Chicago. So
that's a good.
Say maybe at Pittsburgh too.
Yeah.
Beside his brother.
Get all 3 Watt brothers together. That's a huge shout.
Imagine Pittsburgh have
imagine
JJ and TJ Watt
on either side.
Jeez,
Cam Hayward, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree's going to be a free agent, but Stephon Tuitt as well. That line will be nasty, man. Be nasty.
Do we have anything we want to bring up, gents? Xavier, anything you want to talk about?
Dwayne Haskins getting another shot. That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. Big news as well.
See how long until he's at the titty bar.
In Pittsburgh as well, you know, not a place I expected him to land, if land anywhere. That's them thinking for the future. Graham, what did you think on that?
Is Dwayne Haskins he's like the James Harden of the NFL world, isn't he? Like on those titty bars. But these guys, you know, you pick them so high, you've got so much expectation. The team's obviously invested a lot, you know, picking him in that, and to be cut the way he was, that's red flags for me all day. Yeah. You know, I know these guys work hard to get in this position, but the work doesn't stop when you get in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it just starts for some of these guys. This is when the real work starts. You know, people aren't there to hold your hand the same and help you through this. So for him to get another shot, I suppose it's great for his self-esteem and everything. But I think he's going to have to put everything else to bed and just concentrate on being like an absolute pro. And I mean that on and off the field. I wish him all the best, but I can't see it lasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's going to bum about.
Yeah. That's something that I saw someone talking about the other day. It's about people just furthering their brand. So, you know, young guys will come into the league, and they'll post on Instagram and on Twitter videos of them working out. But in reality, I mean, they're not actually doing that. And that Dwayne Haskins is just a case of that. He'd rather go and throw singles than he would go watch film or you know, stuff like that. You can't do that in today's NFL. You can't get away with that,
especially not during the season. Off season, you can maybe get away with it, get a slap on the wrist, you know, and make sure you don't get caught. But during the season, when your franchise is sucking as bad as it has done, you know, somehow they managed to win the division. But
well, did they?
Yeah. Win, quote unquote. We'll put that in quotations.
Yeah.
We'll put an asterisk beside it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you probably could have stuck us lot in as a team, you know, all the podcasters out there and as a team, all the vloggers, and we probably would have been better than the NFC East teams. But I think that's all. Last thing from me anyway. Me and Xavier have a saying on this show, Graham. We call them hindsight Henrys. You know,
okay.
In hindsight, obviously the coach should have kicked it rather than going for two so many fucking times against the Bills. But like Frank Wright said, you can't come out to a 40-point scoring team and go for field goals all the time. What has been, from a Texans fan point of view, the biggest hindsight Henry moment of the season?
Of this season?
Yeah.
Jeez. Thinking on what we should have done, probably, was it the Titans game, the first game? We went for it when we could have tied it up.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and we made an arse of it. No, or we tried to go 2 points up and we didn't get it. And I think it was that let them back in. And we should have just kicked the extra point. That's one of them, you know.
Yeah, I think you guys were playing for the 10-point lead instead of the 9-point, and it let them
back in. There was another one where we should have just done, when we were on the goal line against you guys, we should have just done a little snap. You know, we should have just done a quarterback sneak.
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't have let Martin throw the ball sideways on the snap. Yeah. You know, those kind of things. You know, different play calls at the line of attack. There's so many, isn't there, when you look back at how many poor decisions there was.
Oh yeah, a lot of fans. A lot of fans go at Rocky Ya-Sin draft pick. They're like, "Oh, you shouldn't have drafted Rocky Ya-Sin there." Well, you know, looking back on it, Rocky Ya-Sin looked like a damn good prospect. So it's hard to say that, but I mean, I've seen thousands of fans on my Twitter, man, just Rocky Ya-Sin was a horrible pick. Why would you ever do that? Blah blah blah. Chris Ballard's made 50 other good picks. You know, so
it's the one bad pick everyone focuses on.
Yeah,
it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, well, over an hour now we've been talking football. Graham, thanks so much for coming on, representing the Texans. Just shout out your Twitter handles, Instagrams, YouTubes, whatever you do. Just shout them all out now.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. Anyway, you know, I could waffle on about football and not make much sense for hours, like so. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at the one handle with underscores between instead of spacing, and also at Texans UK on Twitter, and you can get me on Instagram at the Kilted Texan with an underscore in the middle. Yeah, I don't really post much on Instagram yet. I was actually hoping to do a lot more this past season, but COVID knackered it. You know, I was meant to be going to 6 games, and that got hit on the head with old COVID. So I'm hoping that we're all back to normal and we can all go and enjoy football again this season in the stands. So cool. Yeah, but thanks for having me on, guys.
It's been excellent. Xavier, your shout out as always, pal.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can get at me at I'm the HOA, no spaces. YouTube at High Octane Analysis. That's ANALYSIS. And that's about it.
Excellent. Time to wrap this up. It's been a fantastic AFC South chat show. Graham's played a great sport in that, and we'll see who wins the championship rounds and onto the Super Bowl.